When the Crime Was Done, Part 1. The gunshots split the night at exactly 11:47 p.m. For a moment, the city seemed to hold its breath. Inside the narrow convenience store on Adebayo Street, time fractured into sharp, glittering pieces. A half-open fridge hummed softly. A radio crackled with late-night news. The clerk's hand froze mid-reach, fingers brushing a pack of cigarettes that would never be sold. The man who fired the gun stood just inside the doorway, rain dripping from the brim of his cap. His heart hammered, so loudly he was certain everyone could hear it, even over the echo still ringing in his ears. He hadn't meant for it to happen this way. Or maybe that was the lie he told himself, so he could keep breathing. Across the counter, the victim collapsed slowly, as if the floor were pulling him down in stages. A red stain spread across the tiled floor, thin at first, then wider, unstoppable. The radio kept talking, oblivious, reporting traffic delays and weather updates to a city that had just lost one more soul. Outside, a stray dog barked once and ran. The man lowered the gun, his hand shaking now. In the silence that followed, every sound became unbearable. The buzz of the lights, the distant siren blocks away, the wet slap of rain against glass. He glanced at a security camera in the corner. The small red light blinked steadily, recording everything. He turned and fled into the darkness, shoes splashing through puddles, leaving behind a door swinging on its hinge and a crime that could never be undone. And just like that, it was done. 2. When the Crime Was Done, Part 2. The door stopped swinging. Silence crept back into the convenience store, slow and cautious, as if afraid of what it might find. The radio finally cut to static, its cheerful voice swallowed by a long, empty hiss. Somewhere behind the counter, the body lay still, eyes open, staring at nothing at all. At 11:53 p.m., a woman named Saad stepped inside. She had come only for bread and milk, her phone pressed to her ear, half complaining about the rain. The words died in her throat when she saw the floor. The color was wrong, too dark, too real. Her phone slipped from her hand and clattered against the tiles. "Hello!" A voice echoed from the speaker, distant and unaware. Saad backed away, her breath coming in sharp bursts. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Instead, she ran back into the rain, waving her arms at a passing car, her mind struggling to accept what her eyes already knew. By 12:06 a.m., the first patrol car arrived. Red and blue lights painted the store windows in frantic strokes. Officers moved carefully, hands resting near their weapons, training taking over where shock could not. One of them turned off the radio. Another pulled a yellow tape from the trunk and stretched it across the entrance, sealing the scene from the curious and the careless. They stood there for a moment, just looking. Crimes always looked smaller once they were finished, quieter than the chaos that created them. No shouting, no struggle, just the aftermath, blood drying. Time stopped, questions waiting to be asked. And somewhere in the city, the man with the gun was still running, unaware that the crime he thought was over had only just begun. When the Crime Was Done, Part 3. By 12:41 a.m., the rain had eased into a thin mist. Inside the taped-off convenience store, the air smelled of metal and disinfectant. Forensic lights glared against the tiles, turning every drop, every scuff, every footprint into a silent witness. A photographer crouched low, camera clicking softly, preserving a moment no one wanted to remember. Detective Kemi Afolayan arrived without urgency, but with purpose. She stood just inside the door, hands in her coat pockets, letting the scene speak before anyone else did. The victim lay behind the counter, face calm in a way that felt wrong. Kemi noted the angle of the fall, the position of the arm, the open register drawer with its neat rows of bills untouched. "Not a robbery," she murmured. She moved to the security camera, its red light still blinking. A tech was already there, carefully removing the drive like it was something fragile and dangerous. Across the room, an officer bagged a single shell casing found near the entrance. One shot, one decision. Outside, a small crowd had gathered, whispers drifting through the mist. Phones glowed in the darkness as people speculated, guessed, and judged. Somewhere among them might be someone who knew the gunman, someone who had seen him run. Kemi stepped back and looked at the body again. "Someone wanted him dead," she said quietly. "And they didn't care who saw." Far away, in a cramped apartment, a man scrubbed his hands under cold water until his skin burned. The stain wouldn't come off. No matter how hard he rubbed, it was still there, on his hands and his head. The crime was done, but the truth was still hiding. When the crime was done, Part 4. Morning came without mercy. By 6:12 a.m., the convenience store on Adebayo Street was awake again, though nothing inside it would ever be the same. The yellow tape fluttered in the early breeze, a warning and an invitation all at once. Commuters slowed their steps. Some stared, others looked away, afraid that curiosity alone might pull them into the story. Detective Kemi Afolayan hadn't slept. She stood outside with a paper cup of bitter coffee, listening as the medical examiner delivered the facts in a voice stripped of emotion. Time of death. Cause: one clean shot to the chest. Close range. Execution style, the examiner said. Kemi nodded, her jaw tightening. That word carried weight. Inside headquarters, the victim's name finally surfaced. Tun Balagan, age 42. No prior arrests. No known enemies. A man who smiled easily in old photographs and sent money home every month without fail. But lies often hide behind ordinary faces. The security footage played on a loop in the briefing room. A man in a dark cap entered the store. No rush. No panic. Words were exchanged. No sound, just gestures. Then the gun came up. One flash. One body falling. The suspect paused afterward. That was the part that bothered Kemi most. Why didn't he run immediately? She asked. No one answered. Across town, the man from the footage sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the same news clip playing on his phone. His face was hidden, blurred, but he recognized his own posture, his own hesitation. He whispered the victim's name like a confession. The crime was done, but its shadow was spreading, reaching into lives that had never expected to be touched. When the crime was done, Part 5, the city began to talk. By midday, Adebayo Street had transformed into a marketplace of rumors. Some said the victim owed money. Others swore they had seen two men arguing days before the shooting. Every story contradicted the last, but each carried the same certainty, the kind people cling to when fear needs a shape. Detective Kemi Afolayan listened without reacting. At her desk, files spread out like pieces of a broken mirror. Tun Balagan, bank records clean, debts minimal, no recent threats. But one detail refused to stay quiet, his phone. The last call made at 11:32 p.m., 15 minutes before the gunshot. Unknown number. The call lasted 38 seconds. Pull the tower data, Kemi said, and trace that number. Across town, the man with the dark cap, his real name Ibrahim, sat in a bus headed nowhere in particular. He kept his head down, fingers wrapped tightly around his phone. It hadn't stopped buzzing all morning. Missed calls, messages he couldn't bring himself to read. Every vibration felt like a knock on the door. Back at the store, officers canvassed nearby shops. A kiosk owner mentioned a man pacing outside earlier that night, nervous, watching the door. Another witness remembered the gunman hesitating, as if waiting for permission from himself or someone else. That hesitation was the crack. Kemi stared at the still image from the footage, zoomed in on the man's face just before the shot. Fear, yes, but also recognition. They knew each other, she said softly. As the evening fell, Ibrahim finally opened one message. It was short, unforgiving. You did it. Now live with it. The crime was done. But regret when the crime was done. Part 5. The city began to talk. By midday, Adebayo Street had transformed into a marketplace of rumors. Some said the victim owed money. Others swore they had seen two men arguing days before the shooting. Every story contradicted the last, but each carried the same certainty, the kind people cling to when fear needs a shape. Detective Kemi Afolayan listened without reacting. At her desk, files spread out like pieces of a broken mirror. Tun Balagan, bank records clean, debts minimal, no recent threats. But one detail refused to stay quiet, his phone. The last call made at 11:32 p.m., 15 minutes before the gunshot. Unknown number. The call lasted 38 seconds. Pull the tower data, Kemi said, and trace that number. Across town, the man with the dark cap, his real name Ibrahim, sat in a bus headed nowhere in particular. He kept his head down, fingers wrapped tightly around his phone. It hadn't stopped buzzing all morning. Missed calls, messages he couldn't bring himself to read. Every vibration felt like a knock on the door. Back at the store, officers canvassed nearby shops. A kiosk owner mentioned a man pacing outside earlier that night, nervous, watching the door. Another witness remembered the gunman hesitating, as if waiting for permission from himself or someone else. That hesitation was the crack. Kemi stared at the still image from the footage, zoomed in on the man's face just before the shot. Fear, yes, but also recognition. They knew each other, she said softly. As evening fell, Ibrahim finally opened one message. It was short, unforgiving. You did it. Now live with it. The crime was done. But regret. When the crime was done. Part 6. Night returned like a witness that couldn't be shaken. Detective Kemi Afolayan stood alone in the interrogation room, staring through the one-way glass. On the other side sat Ibrahim. No cap now. No shadows to hide his face. Just a man hollowed out by a single decision. He hadn't asked for a lawyer yet. That, more than anything, told Kemi this wasn't a hardened criminal. The evidence had closed in quietly, tower pings matching the unknown number, a bus camera catching his face hours after the shooting, a witness who finally remembered where she'd seen him before. When officers knocked on his door, Ibrahim didn't run. He only nodded, as if he'd been expecting them. The recorder clicked on. Why did you go there? Kemi asked. Ibrahim's hands trembled in his lap. He called me, he said. Said we needed to talk. Said it was about the money. What money? He swallowed hard. The money he took. The money that ruined everything. Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. He laughed. Ibrahim continued, voice breaking. Said it was already done. Said I wouldn't do anything. Kemi leaned forward. And the gun? I brought it to scare him, he said. I swear. I just wanted him to listen. The pause, the one captured forever on camera, hung between them. I didn't mean to pull the trigger, Ibrahim whispered. But once it happened, I knew there was no going back. Outside the room, officers listened without speaking. Confessions never sounded the way people expected. No drama, no shouting, just regret, laid bare. Kemi switched off the recorder. When the crime was done, she said quietly, your life didn't end, but it changed forever. Ibrahim closed his eyes, and for the first time since 11:47 p.m., he finally stopped running. End of. When the crime was done, Part 7. By the time the rain began, the truth had already started to crack. Detective Mara Ellison stood beneath the awning of the closed pharmacy, watching water slick the street into mirrors. Across the road, the warehouse loomed, dark, quiet, pretending it had nothing to say. The crime had been done hours earlier, but the city was only now exhaling, letting the tension seep out through gutters and drains. Inside the warehouse, the team moved carefully. No sirens, no raised voices, just the soft shuffle of boots and the low murmur of radios. The killer had been precise, too precise. No signs of panic, no wasted motion. Whoever had done this hadn't acted in anger. They had acted with purpose. Mara replayed the timeline in her head. 9:42 p.m., the victim entered the warehouse. 9:51 p.m., the power cut. 9:58 p.m., the fatal moment. 17 minutes. That was all it took to end a life and reshape several others. Ellison, Officer Grant called from the doorway. You need to see this. She stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of oil and damp cardboard. Grant pointed to a work table near the back. On it sat a notebook, edges curled, pages smudged but readable. Mara flipped it open. Names, dates, payments. Not a confession, but close enough. This wasn't random, Grant said quietly. No, Mara replied. It never is. The victim hadn't been innocent. That much was clear now. He'd been skimming money, leveraging people who couldn't fight back, keeping records in case he ever needed insurance. Someone had decided he wouldn't get the chance. Still, motive didn't excuse method. Outside, a woman waited behind the tape, clutching her jacket closed. Her eyes followed Mara as she emerged from the warehouse. You found something, the woman said. It wasn't a question. Mara studied her. Early 30s. No makeup left after crying. Hands trembling, not from cold but from restraint. You knew him, Mara said. I worked for him. The woman swallowed. I tried to leave. Mara felt the shift then, the subtle tilt when a case changes direction. Where were you tonight? She asked. The woman looked past her, toward the rain-soaked street. At home, until the lights went out. Anyone who can confirm that? A pause. Too long. When the woman finally met Mara's eyes, there was fear there, but also relief. The kind that comes when something unbearable has ended. He ruined people, she whispered. You know that now. Mara nodded. I know. But you're still going to find who did it, the woman said. Yes, Mara replied gently. Because when the crime is done, someone always pays. The question is who and how. The woman nodded slowly, as if she had expected no other answer. As the rain fell harder, Mara turned back to the warehouse. Evidence lights glowed inside like distant stars. Somewhere in those shadows was the final piece, the detail the killer hadn't accounted for. They always miss something. And when Mara found it, the story of what happened when the crime was done would finally be completed. When the crime was done, Part 8. Dawn crept in quietly, as if the city itself was afraid to disturb what had already been broken. Detective Mara Ellison stood by the window of the precinct's briefing room, coffee untouched in her hand. Below, traffic moved like nothing had happened. People going to work, vendors setting up stalls, life continuing with cruel indifference. But inside her head, the crime scene replayed again and again. The evidence board behind her was now crowded. Photographs, maps, names written in red marker. At the center was one word circled twice. Motive. They finally had a lead. The lab results from the shard of glass found in the victim's pocket had come back overnight. It wasn't from the alley. It was from a custom bottle, rare, expensive, and only sold at one private club across town. A place known for powerful patrons and quiet deals. Mara's partner, Jonas Reed, tapped the photo with a pen. So the victim didn't just wander into that alley, he said. He was led there. Or chased, Mara replied. Either way, someone wanted him off the street and out of sight. A knock interrupted them. Officer Bellows stepped in, his expression tight. Detective, we picked up a witness. Came in on their own. Mara's heart skipped. From the alley? Not exactly, Bellows said. From the club. Minutes later, a young woman sat across the table, hands trembling. Her eyes darted to the door every few seconds, as if expecting someone to burst in. I didn't kill anyone, she whispered before Mara could speak. But I saw him that night. I saw who he was with. Mara leaned forward gently. Tell me everything. The woman swallowed. They were arguing. The victim looked scared, really scared. And the other man, he wasn't shouting. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room knew who he was. Jonas frowned. Do you know his name? She hesitated, then nodded. They call him the broker. The room went silent. Mara felt the weight of it settle in her chest. The broker wasn't just a suspect, he was a ghost. A fixer tied to half a dozen unsolved cases, always close enough to smell guilt, never close enough to touch. When they left, the woman continued, the victim dropped something. I picked it up after. She reached into her bag and placed a small object on the table. A key. Black metal. No markings, except a tiny number etched at the base. 317. Mara exchanged a look with Jonas. Storage unit. Hotel room. Safe house. Something the victim had died to protect. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance, even though the sky was clear. The crime was done. When the crime was done. Part 9. Unit 317 groaned as Mara turned the black metal key. The lock gave way with a dull click that echoed louder than it should have. For a moment, no one moved. Then the door rolled up. Inside were boxes stacked with deliberate care. No dust. No chaos. Someone had been here recently. Jonas scanned the space while Mara stepped forward, her instincts humming. The first box held documents, bank transfers, shell companies, names crossed out in ink so heavy it tore the paper. The second box held phones. Old ones. Burners. Each labeled with dates. This isn't a victim, Jonas muttered. This is an archivist. Mara nodded. He was collecting leverage. At the back of the unit sat a single metal case. Locked, different from the rest. Mara forced it open. Inside lay a ledger. Not digital, handwritten. Page after page, detailed transactions tied to the broker, payoffs, disappearances, staged accidents. Each entry ended with a symbol, a small triangle, carefully drawn. Jonas exhaled slowly. This could take down half the city. Before Mara could respond, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without speaking. You're standing in a place you shouldn't be, a calm voice said. Mail. Unhurried. Close the door. Walk away. This ends cleanly. Mara tightened her grip on the phone. You killed him. A soft chuckle. No, detective. I corrected a mistake. He forgot the rules. Then why call me? A pause. Just long enough to feel deliberate. Because you're about to make one. The call ended. In that same instant, Jonas stiffened. Mara, we've got movement. Footsteps. Multiple. Crunching gravel outside the unit. Mara snapped the ledger shut. Get it out, she whispered. Now. They barely made it to the car before headlights flared behind them. An engine roared. Tires screamed. The chase tore through empty streets. Red lights ignored. Sirens useless. Jonas drove like the city owed him answers. A black sedan stayed close. Too close. Then, without warning, it swerved away. Gone. Silence returned as suddenly as it had vanished. Back at the precinct, the mood was electric. The ledger was real. Verified. Explosive. But when the team tried to log the evidence, something was wrong. The ledger was missing. In its place lay a single sheet of paper. 3 words, written neatly in black ink. You're too late. Mara stared at the message, her reflection shaking in the glass. The crime wasn't just done. It was still happening. Part 10 is coming. When the crime was done, Part 10. The precinct felt colder than usual that night. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seemed hesitant, as if the building itself knew something had changed. Mara Ellison stared at the empty evidence locker, replaying the words from the note. You're too late. Jonas paced behind her, fists clenched. Who could have taken it? We locked it down. Only us had access. Mara didn't answer. Her mind was already elsewhere, back in the alley, back at Unit 317, back to the moment the ledger first revealed the broker's reach. Someone had beaten them. Someone had been watching, waiting, anticipating every move. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. She answered immediately, this time holding her ground. Detective Ellison, the calm voice said, almost friendly. I see you've discovered my little gift. Who are you? Mara demanded. Where's the ledger? There was a pause. Then, you've seen too much. And yet, you're still alive. That counts for something. The ledger isn't gone. It's just out of reach. If you want it back, you'll have to play my game. Jonas leaned in. Game? What kind of game? The voice chuckled softly. A series of choices. Some simple, some impossible. One wrong move, and everything you've uncovered disappears. Forever. The line went dead. Mara slammed the phone down. She knew the rules were changing. This wasn't just about catching a killer anymore. It was a test. And the broker wasn't the only threat. Whoever had intercepted the ledger was now pulling strings from the shadows. She grabbed her coat. We start tonight. We follow every lead, every clue, every whisper. Whoever thinks they're untouchable, they're about to learn the city doesn't forgive, and it doesn't forget. Outside, rain began to fall. Light at first, then steady, soaking the streets in silver. The city glimmered with secrets and danger, every shadow a potential threat. Mara looked at Jonas. When the crime is done, sometimes, the real battle is only beginning. Somewhere far away, unseen, a figure smiled in the darkness, already planning the next move. And with that, the chase for truth and survival entered a new, deadlier phase. The crime was done, yes, but the reckoning was just beginning. If you want, I can continue and write part 11, where the game of choices begins and the tension ramps up even further. Top of form, bottom of form,